the Bowels of Netflix, where your fearless co-hosts Isaac and Larry force each other to watch the worst pieces of shit on Netflix. We will go over every bad edit, all the broken dialogue, all the wooden acting, and laugh along the way, because this is the Bowels of Netflix! Alright, welcome to the Bowels of Netflix. My name is Isaac, and with me as always is the man who makes my penis feel weird, Mr. Larry Beard. How are you doing this week?
Well, I mean, I am the Queen of Kings.
You are the Queen of Kings.
Makes my penis feel weird, Larry Beard. That's so clever.
I've been thinking of beard rhymes.
Oh, we rehearsed nothing before this. It's genius.
I keep trying to think of them, and there's not a whole lot of them. Weird is the best one. I can work those angles.
Well, have you ever heard the story about Larry Beard is so queered?
Oh, no, but
a friend
weird.
of mine, Randy, started saying that to me in high school.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm 27, and I'm still hearing it.
Well, it was Randy, so.
Yeah, God bless him.
So we got, well, queered isn't a thing. We got feared, we got weird, speared, leered, deared.
Sure.
No,
I spend
that's
a
not
lot
real.
of my
It's like
day
weird.
when I'm at home alone trying to make up songs about the dog. And tummy is a hard word to rhyme with.
Sneered.
Oh shit, sneered. I do a lot of sneering.
The man who is most frequently sneered, Mr. Larry Beard.
Alright, well, folks,
I can't use these up. I gotta save them.
There's the opening gags of the next 6 Bowels of Netflix, so you can tune out the first 2 minutes now.
We are the Bowels of Netflix. If you're just dropping in on episode 16 here, we are good friends who also hate each other, so we force each other to watch the worst movies we can find on Netflix. And describe them in horrible detail to you and to each other. And that's why you're all here with us today. We exist on the internet. You can find us on Twitter, Facebook. Those are both at Bowels of Netflix. You could send us an email at bowelsofnetflix@gmail.com. And yeah, so
you can swipe right on our Tinder.
Swipe right on the hot Bowels Dong 97.
Oh God, that is not an attractive image.
Oh God, I've no, I can't go into that. Anyway,
I'm sorry. What?
Bitch gave me poop dick. But anyway,
Forgot about that.
So this week I'm talking about a movie. I had to watch it because you gave it to me, Larry. What movie am I talking about?
Oh fuck! It's got a long name.
Yeah. Oh, you don't even remember? Fuck you. Fuck you.
I didn't remember.
He's a fucking knob. Just say action movie words, and you'll get it.
True Memoirs of an International Assassin.
Yeah, it's starring Kevin James. It's an action comedy, and it's our first Netflix original. So that's actually interesting. We were talking about that a little last week because you reviewed Kronk's New Groove, which was a Disney sequel to The Emperor's New Groove, and being a sequel, lacked in quality, but because Disney was behind it. It didn't suck all that bad. Like, the actual animation was pretty good, and, like, there was some good writing. Like, some of the jokes, like, hit their mark and stuff like that. So, I mean, and that's... we can translate that lesson here, is because Netflix has their weight behind it. This movie wasn't all bad. It was dumb, but fun.
I really, like, that blows me away.
Yeah, and... it's hard to know how to describe it. So we'll get into a couple just of the nitty gritty details. It came out in 2016, so it's fairly recent. IMDb, which we're learning is the fucking
really just
manure heap of society
by idiots.
5.9, which is the same score as Kronk's New Groove, actually, I believe. Rotten Tomatoes, the audience aggregated score was a 43%, but the critic aggregated tomato meter was 0. There were only, I think, like 8 reviews, so it's not a lot of critics, but none of them liked it.
Just like this our two movies are a lot alike in a lot of weird ways.
It's really weird. Mm-hmm. Now, but I want you to guess what the budget for this movie was.
Okay, so now my head is saying, okay, well, obviously it has to be insanely high, but you might also be turning it around and it might be like $2,000. I'm gonna say no. I'm looking at the cover. Kevin James definitely doesn't work cheap. I am gonna say the budget of this movie. Give me a budget of what's the budget of Return of the King? I need to know that first.
Return of the King?
Mm-hmm.
The Lord of the Rings?
Yes. I need to have a baseline. Okay, Return of the King was $94 million. Figure for inflation. I'm gonna say the budget of international memoirs, fucking true memoirs of international.
True memoirs of an internationalist. A dickhead. Well, it makes sense once you get into the plot. That's the other thing. We bitch about movies not having plot. This movie has plot out the ass. There is too much plot.
I'll tell you what. I was on the fence about giving you this, and I'll tell you what tipped me over. When I opened Wikipedia, in the plot section, there's a box that says this article's plot summary may be too long or excessively detailed. To which I said, "Oh well, that's it. That's got to be it, man."
Wow. Okay, so Return of the King, $94 million.
And wow, also The Hobbit, the first Hobbit movie, was $180 million, which, boy, that puts things in perspective.
Yeah, but they're doing, like, action capture on fucking Benedict Snipperpatch or whatever his name is.
You fucking slob. I am going to say the budget for True Memoirs of an International Assassin is $140... No, do I want to say dollars or $1 million? I'm not $1 million. $140 million.
Well, you're only off by about $100 million.
So $40 million.
Yes.
Who the fuck? How much of that went up Kevin James's nose?
We don't know for sure, but yeah, you're overshooting comparing it to like The Hobbit or something like that. Like this is definitely not a big budget, but I was shocked at this budget. I couldn't believe it was $40 million. Like, I figured a Netflix original that's like an action comedy might be like 10, 15 tops.
Yeah, what the hell?
But even with like Kevin James' salary,
he does not command a big salary.
Yeah,
what is he in? He's Paul Blart and he's the King of Queens. Is that a?
That's more or less it.
Is that draw? Is that a money draw? He was in Chuck and Larry, right? Yeah.
Yeah, he's in the Adam Sandler universe now.
Oh, God.
Yeah. Which apparently fucking Adam Sandler Netflix originals, children love. Like 12-year-olds, that's the best shit for them.
Well, this was on the block, True Memoirs is on the block with Sandy Wexler, which is Adam Sandler Netflix original, which is also pretty reviled, to my understanding.
This was not a Happy Madison's production, which is Adam Sandler's like production company, and like because I was a huge Adam Sandler fan early on, like Happy Gilmore, Billy Madison, Waterboy, all that stuff. Fucking love. I could watch those movies to death. And then once he hit the 2000s, I was like, nah, I'm done. I'm done. Part of it's me getting older. Part of it's like him running the same jokes over again. But he's transitioned, especially with his Netflix role, into just making movies that are fun for 12-year-olds. And is making a shit ton of money. Because his movies are more profitable off of Netflix than they ever were in theaters. Like, he's making more money now than he was off of Billy Madison or Happy Gilmore.
Jesus.
But
Happy Gilmore was huge.
Oh, yeah.
You couldn't turn on a television without that movie being on back in the day.
But
wow.
I should digress a little bit. Or shouldn't digress. I don't know. I'm tired. It's late. So, my overall impression of this movie, because again, this is like Cirque du Freak, kind of. First time I watched it, I was just into it and just having fun. And I was like, oh my god, how am I going to review this and talk about how bad it is?
You're not right.
But watching it again, it was like, okay, this is not all that great. So, my description is like, this movie's like taking a handful of Crisco and slathering it between your box spring and your mattress and fucking it. It'll make you come. It'll get the job done, but the thought of ever doing it again fills you with shame and makes you wonder why you're such a dirty little boy in the first place. So...
Spoken like a man with a An almost full jar of Crisco. Save one hand scoop.
But yeah, so watching it the first time, I had a lot of fun. But seeing it again, just there's a lot of problems, and it's too overstuffed, and it tries too hard to be an action movie and a comedy, and it doesn't get either of them right. It just kind of like is mid-level for both of them.
That's kind of how Cabin Fever was with horror and comedy.
Right, yeah. It's like, I don't know, not straddling the line very well, and like taking it a little too seriously sometimes and not seriously enough other times. I don't know. I was trying to think of like great, like what's the Adam Sandler, Arnold Schwarzenegger? I can't remember. Not True Lies. That was a different one. But there's a bunch of Schwarzenegger movies that are funny, but still like they qualify as an action movie. But I don't know. They're a lot more enjoyable, or they hit their mark better.
Huh. I'm not familiar with any of those, honestly.
Yeah, some of his like early '90s stuff. But okay, so let's get into it. We got a standard action movie open. So we have a bunch of bad dudes on like a shipping dock doing some bad dude shit, like loading their guns and packing things in crates or whatever.
I'm convinced that 80% of all docks at night just turn into the openings of action movies.
This was daytime, actually.
Oh.
There's not many nighttime things, actually, in this movie. I wonder if lighting was a budget issue. Kevin James' salary was like $38 million, and they only had $2 million for the rest. So Kevin James shows up, he drives a Jeep through a wall, and just starts shooting all the bad guys. And all the bad guys' bullets miraculously miss him. Of course, action movie trope.
I find it troubling that you automatically qualify them as the bad guys.
Well, you think Kevin James is the bad guy?
If you were here right now, I'm convinced you would punch me.
So, Mr. Kevin James, who will be known as Kevin James, because I don't remember his name in the movie. He rounds a corner and he sees a bad dude with a missile launcher, like a rocket launcher bazooka, like fucking GTA 5. And the bad dude launches the missile and explodes Kevin James into a splatter of blood. And the credits roll, and the movie's over.
You're not going to get that lucky, obviously.
No. So the scene begins to rewind, where we see the rocket, like, come back into the rocket launcher, and the guy take it off his shoulder. And then we cut to Kevin James in his office on his computer, hitting the delete button on the novel he's writing.
Boo!
And then we watch, like, so he'll be known as writer Kevin James. We'll distinguish writer Kevin James and action Kevin James.
Action Kevin James sounds like the worst action figure any kid has ever received. Oh, God. With subpar television action.
The action figure for action Kevin James is just a potato with 4 toothpicks in it.
Allegedly.
Sold for $29.95 by Netflix.
Yeah, you get it at balsandnetflix.com. We will sell you potatoes signed with our names and call them Kevin James action figures.
Oh God, I'm dying.
Your favorite scenes from Paul Blart Mall Cop.
Oh God, please don't make me ever watch that movie.
I don't want to hear about it, honestly.
I swear to God.
There's
2 of them, aren't there?
Yes.
Okay, so writer Kevin James ponders what to put in place of a missile launcher, because that's obviously fucking stupid. We cut between writer Kevin James just, like, sitting at his keyboard, like, oh, what could it be? And he's, like, scratching his chin. And we cut back to action Kevin James, who's standing there with the bad guy, like, facing off 10 feet away, and they're both just shuffling their feet and twiddling their thumbs, because they don't have anything to do, because the writer can't decide, and that's the gag.
That's kind of a funny bit.
Yeah, and it plays out okay. Like, it's thinking about it later, it's kind of annoying. Watching it at the time, I was like, okay, I'm all right with it. I don't know. Finally, writer Kevin James decides on a K-bar tactical knife. Whatever the fuck that is. I don't know.
All right.
And we cut to action Kevin James... I can't talk.
Kevin James. Hey, good. Me, Kevin James.
We get to action Kevin James, who does a husky whisper of his badass line, "Let's light this candle."
Oh my god! I'll tell you what, that was
stupid.
That was a really good voiceover. I like your take on that. I mean, the line was shit, but can we get something else in that voice?
I want you to touch me on my clitoris.
Is anyone else erect? Show of hands.
I'm raising my hand. Okay, so he lets light this candle, and then he fights and kills the man with a K-bar tactical knife. He wrests the knife from him and throws it into his chest. Standard bad movie bullshit. Then we cut to the baddest dude at the dock, who's shoving the love interest into a helicopter. Action Kevin James dives into the helicopter as it's taking off, and proceeds to fight the baddest dude. During the scuffle, a gun goes off, and the pilot of the helicopter is shot in the brain, so the helicopter is careening out of control. Kevin James ends up shoving the baddest dude out of the helicopter to his death, where he, snaps his spine on a bridge or something. I don't know. Writer Kevin James, we cut to, and he's, scratching his chin. Could action Kevin James and love interest survive a helicopter crash into the ocean? And he shrugs and says, fuck it, we'll go with it for now. So the helicopter crashes into the water, and they swim to shore, and they're about to have, a love moment. They get out just drenching wet, and she's like, "Oh my god, you saved my life!" And he's like, "Oh yeah, totally, it's what I do." But, God. He can't decide what action Kevin James' signature line should be. But yeah, she says, "Thank you for saving my life," and then action Kevin James just stammers awkwardly, and the love interest just looks very awkwardly at him and starts twiddling her thumbs, and it's just that repeated gag again, because that's what this movie loves to do, is you get one gag that works, and then you repeat it.
It sounded like halfway funny the first time. It does not sound funny when you say it again.
Yeah. And then, okay, my favorite part of the movie. Because it's this little... And there's a decent amount of dark humor throughout it, but this just grips my soul with how dark it is. So, writer Kevin James is writing this book, and, he's having a little trouble. He had to figure out the missile thing, and he can't figure out a signature line. He's really struggling over it. So we cut to him, and he pulls out a handgun and, taps it on his forehead a couple times. He's like, "Oh, what should the signature line be? What should the signature line be?" And then he, nuzzles the gun up against his chin. And it's like, oh, holy shit, what the fuck is this movie doing?
So he's not suicidal. He's using it to think.
Well, we're not really sure, but then he takes the gun out from under his chin and, fires it, and it's like an airsoft gun.
Oh.
Right.
Oh. Never mind. Certainly not funny anymore.
I still like it. But yeah. So that's it for there. And then we establish writer Kevin James has a shitty office job. And he's got a shitty boss, and there's some stupid banter, and I can't get into all the details. But writing's his hobby, not his profession. We get some scenes showing how committed writer Kevin James is to researching his writing. So he's, in the gym practicing martial arts moves on, a boxing dummy. So he knows how to accurately write the moves. Then we see him, taking a gun apart and putting it back together while he's timing himself with a stopwatch.
Okay, I have to interject with a question here, because I haven't seen him in a long time, except for the little bits and pieces of this I saw. Kevin James, when I knew him, in the golden years, the King of Queens years, was a fat, unimpressive, out-of-shape man.
Oh, no, he's Hugh Jackman himself.
Oh,
he weighs like 180 and he's buff as shit.
Oh, holy shit. Okay. All right.
No, I'm completely lying. He's still fat. They stuff him. They stuff him in some flattering clothes, and he wears like a vest. Like, he wears the Roman Reigns vest, which is just there to disguise his man titties.
Roman Reigns has man titties because all Samoans have man titties. If you don't believe it, why do you think The Rock works out so hard? Look at any Samoan. No offense to our Samoan listeners. It's okay. I got man titties too, and I'm white. It's cool. We're all clear here.
You don't even have the Samoan excuse.
No, I don't.
Neither do I. I got some man titties. Oh, I'm sweating under them. Oh,
yeah.
It's getting hot in here.
It's hot in this fucking room, and I don't have the AC on. Broasting of my own juices.
So yeah, writer Kevin Smith is very committed to his craft.
Not Kevin Smith. Writer Kevin Smith is technically committed to his craft. It's just a shit craft.
I kept making that mistake when I was typing this up. I wrote Kevin Smith instead of Kevin James like 19 times. And I
just wanted this to be Yoga Hosers.
Yeah, it was the best movie.
Oh, God. What have we done to ourselves?
So we cut to writer Kevin James going to a pool hall to meet up with an old friend of his. He's literally an old friend. He's like a 65-year-old man. They have a back and forth where they speak a couple different languages, like they introduce each other in Spanish, and then the old guy says, "Oh, your Spanish sounds even better than your Hebrew," which is actually a good example of showing and not telling.
Yeah.
So like you're establishing, oh, he's committed to learning all this stuff about writing a fake action novel. So he knows a bunch of languages, and you drop that in kind of casually. It's not over-explained, but it's filling out the characterization.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
And perfectly well done. So writer Kevin James asked the old man if people could survive a helicopter crash into the ocean. The old man scoffs and says, I was just an analyst, right? And basically, there's your twist. Old man was not just an analyst. And I'm not... You, Mr. Beard, are quite the twist predictor. You have fucked me out of some money. And it wasn't even a twist. I was just a moron on that one. But
yeah.
You're very good at getting twists.
I'm not bad.
And I'm generally not. But I saw this one like a mile away. Like as soon as that, I was just an analyst, right? I was like, oh, nope, he's the spy. He's the spy. I get it. I see where this is going.
God.
And he says it'd be much better to jump shortly before impact. You're more likely to survive the fall than the crash. So then the old man tells a story about why he knows this information and mentions a legendary spy named the Ghost.
Okay, there's no such thing as a fucking legendary spy. All right, if you're a legendary spy, you're doing it wrong.
That's a good point.
The best spy in the world will never be known.
So the Ghost might not be the best spy in the world, but he's legendary.
Let me get. Can I make a prediction?
Sure.
The Ghost is a woman, and he's going to fall in love with the Ghost.
I'll go ahead and save you. Well, no. Well, no.
Okay, all right.
You're this movie is interesting in some ways. So we'll get to it. Okay. So now we see writer Kevin James back typing away, and it's the last scene of the book again, but instead of them crashing into the ocean, he says to the love interest as the helicopter's careening out of control, well, we have to jump. It's better to survive the fall than the crash. And they jump into the water, and then repeated, they climb out of the water, and she's like, oh, thank you for saving me.
Lame.
And he shushes her. He's like, shh, call me the Ghost.
Oh, no.
Right. But, and then, the old man before has, said, hey, by the way, I'm telling you the story about the Ghost. That's just between you and me. You keep that shit out of your book, you dickheaded motherfucker. And of course, he puts it in the book. So we cut to a bunch of rejected manuscripts coming back in the mail, with a red stamp, reject on it.
I need one of those. At work, I have a stamp, a big stamp that says void, and it's I'm one shy away from rejected, and I desperately need that.
You could probably get it on Amazon.
Oh, I'm sure.
And we see a sad-looking writer, Kevin James, in his flat. After a while, he gets a phone call from an interested publisher and meets her at Starbucks because, as she says, offices are for assholes, I work in the cloud. This movie was made in 2016, and it shows. She says she loves the book, and she shoves her phone in his face, and is like, oh, hey, just sign these contracts, and we'll get your book published. And he's like, hold on, I should probably get my attorneys to look this over. And she just kind of laughs. She's like, you don't have attorneys. You're an asshole. Do you want your book published? Sign it. And he's like, okay, sure. So the meeting lasts 30 seconds, and then she, like, walks out, like, yelling after him, yeah, congratulations, you're a published author. And she says she promises she won't change a word. Mm-hmm. Very important wording there.
Okay.
Writer Kevin James then calls his mom, and it's kind of a cute little endearing thing, and both of us being writers, like, if we ever got that deal in a Starbucks, we're probably both dumb enough we'd take it.
Oh, yeah,
and then we'd call our moms and be like, Mom, I'm a published author. Oh, my God. I'm so famous.
Yeah.
So,
oh, my God, a woman paid attention to me.
But it turns out he's talking to his mom on the phone. She's like, oh, where can I get the book? And he's like, well, it's a virtual publish on Amazon or whatever. So he's looking up the website, and it turns out that the publisher didn't change a word. She added a word, because the title of his book was Memoirs of an International Assassin. She added the word True Memoirs of an International Assassin. Okay. Hence the title of the movie. Ugh. And now everyone thinks he's a real spy, and he's actually the ghost.
Oh, my God.
Which is the crux of the plot. So, because of that, the book is a hit, and like a couple days later, like the publisher meets up with him and hands him an envelope filled with like $5,000 in cash. So yeah, he's like just overwhelmed and like checking the sales and stuff like that. And he goes back to the pool hall and meets up with the old man, and the old man is all pissed off. He's like, dude, I fucking told you not to use the ghost in the book. You use the ghost in the book. What's wrong with you? So writer Kevin James gets cold feet, and he tries to call the publisher lady and is like, hey, this is not a true story. Can we clarify that? And she tells him, no, we can't. You have an interview with Katie Couric on national television this afternoon.
Katie Couric's still doing her thing, huh?
Yep. She's in this movie.
Oh, did her mountain of coke become a hill of coke, too? Allegedly. Katie, I love you. Return my calls.
She's still looking good. She's in her 60s. She's still looking pretty good.
Yeah, I bet.
So they go to the interview. Writer Kevin James gets very nervous, but publisher lady tells him, don't worry, it's going to be a softball segment. And just before they're about to go on air, like they're sitting, him and Katie Couric, like at the news desk or whatever. It's at commercial break. And Katie's telling him, oh, I love the book. It's so great. Yeah, this is going to be a fun interview. And then you cut to her and, like, her assistant, like, leafing through the book where they have, like, earmarked pages and, like, highlighted stuff. And they're talking about things and, like, getting into the details. And then they immediately jump to being on air. And she reads a very heavy quote from the book where, like, he said... after I'd killed so many people, I started to realize I'd become addicted to death. And she, like, lowers her glasses. And she's like, are you addicted to death? And him, who's not an international assassin, just panics completely and shits himself. And this is, again, a good example of where, because of the $40 million budget and Netflix throwing their weight behind it, this is where this movie gets it right. Because the cinematography and editing are really good in this segment, where it's just like a bunch of quick jump cuts and like real close-ups to like Kevin James's face, and like you can see the beads of sweat, and like Katie Couric flipping pages. Like it's done really well, and you feel his anxiety. It just comes through perfectly. So props to that. And then one of the other gags I quite liked. So she asked him the question, have you become addicted to death because you're actually a murderer? And he just panics and is like, before we start I gotta use the bathroom. And they're on live international television, and he just like gets up and is like, I gotta go to the bathroom. Katie Couric says, we're on live TV. He's like, I gotta go. And then he just runs out of the building while his mic is still hot. So he's just fleeing.
It wasn't funny until his mic is still hot.
He's fleeing down the stairs while Katie Couric alone on TV is also saying, like, I think he's running downstairs. And he gets out on the street in New York and he's like, taxi! He's like, I think he's hailing a cab.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. So he finally rips the mic off and chucks it out the window or whatever. He goes back to his apartment. And here's where the movie takes its big turn. Goes back to his apartment and gets kidnapped and wakes up in Venezuela.
Okay.
He's tied to a chair.
How do we know it's Venezuela? Does the audience know, or do they say, welcome to sunny Venezuela, Kevin James?
I forget how it's exactly revealed. But
doesn't matter, I mostly wanted to do the offensive accent.
You'll be getting some offensive accents. He wakes up tied to a chair while a bearded, cigar-smoking old man, think Dos Equis, most interesting man in the world.
Yeah.
He's almost that person. It's not the same person, but basically.
Okay.
And so he says, oh, you're the ghost. I've been waiting a long time to get a hold of you. And Kevin James says, I'm not the ghost. I'm a writer. It was all fake. And it turns out this man's name, which is perfect name, El Toro. So I'll keep using it, which in Spanish means the bull.
El Toro.
Great name for a villain.
That's pretty good.
He says, well, if you're not the ghost, I am going to take this knife. I'm going to open you from stem to stern, and I will pull your innards out and lay them on your chest. And place your hands over top of them. Which is also pretty funny.
That's such an exact detail.
But yeah, and it's also like, oh, holy shit, writer Kevin James is fucked. Mm-hmm. Like, he's got to just play along now, or he's gonna die. So El Toro says writer Kevin James has to assassinate the president of Venezuela. And then El Toro sends...
Okay.
Oh, there's a lot of plot. There's a triangle of plot.
Jesus Lord.
This is all plot. It's like too much plot.
So all the plot from Croc's movie got sucked out by Kevin James.
Yes. Okay, so El Toro sends his second-hand man to follow writer Kevin James and make sure there's no funny business. Second-hand man is like a greasy Venezuelan with a mustache and like kind of some slicked hair. His name is Juan, and he will be known as the one that you want. Hoo, hoo, hoo.
I fucking hate that song.
For our younger listeners, that is a reference to Grease, which is a musical from 1978 that mostly serves as evidence that John Travolta was at one point good-looking.
It's also a pile of shit, and people love and incorrectly.
I hope you get really tired of that name, because I'll be using it the entire way.
It's a good bit.
Don't
Cry for Me, Argentina made me laugh for a solid 25 seconds, so I'm up for anything, man.
So, the one that you want does not think that writer Kevin James is actually the ghost, and he says, if I have to kill you to prove it, I will. So, writer Kevin James and the one that you want go to an apartment to do reconnaissance.
Oh, Lord.
Writer Kevin James locks the one that you want on the balcony, and he makes his escape. So we cue a standard action chase sequence involving like a shaky tracking camera following them down the stairs and thumping action music like dun 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 dun. These people really liked action movies and they were thrilled to be making anything resembling one. Mm-hmm. So writer Kevin James escapes, goes to the police, and confesses everything. The cops
The Venezuelan police.
The Venezuelan police.
Okay.
Who are ethical and trustworthy. They take him to an abandoned factory. And it turns out the police chief is in bed with a Russian drug dealer named Masevich.
What? Okay.
There's a lot of plot. We haven't even established the triangle.
Oh God. All right. Russian drug dealer Masevich.
Venezuelan police chief in bed, Russian drug dealer Masevich.
Jeez.
And police chief is about to trying to extort money from writer Kevin James, threatening to kill him, and then a jeep drives through the wall, and we get an echoing of the opening scene, which was the beginning or like the end of his book. Mm-hmm. But instead of Kevin James driving the jeep, it's some badass Latina chick.
Okay.
Who does all the action. So she jumps out and she does like the same things where
she's not the ghost?
We'll see. But she dives on her side and like under the car like shoots the guy's foot, and like all the same scenes from the beginning of the movie.
Okay.
So just a callback. So she gets control of the situation, and Latina Badass tells writer Kevin James that he has to meet with Masevich to find out what Masevich wants. Writer Kevin James doesn't really want to do this, but she kind of forces him into it because he's not in any position to argue, really. So we go to Masevich's place, and it's a crazy, opulent drug kingpin mansion. There's a bunch of chicks in bikinis squirting each other with water guns.
And when thing rich people like to make women in bikinis do.
That's what the harem corner would be.
I was just about to say, is your harem gonna be squirting water guns at each other?
That'd be part of it. That'd be on the schedule.
10 to 10:14. Here's what you gotta do also to make it even classier: fill that shit with bubbly, and then they're squirting champagne at each other.
So we now get a weird, I don't even know if it's a bit, but it's a detail of the movie that keeps coming up. So as soon as writer Kevin James walks into Masevich's place, he hears a Latin version of T-Swizzle's Shake It Off playing. T-Swizzle's Taylor Swift, if you didn't know. But it's her song, but all like Latinized with Spanish singing. It's weird. So Masevich is a skinny, pale, bald Russian who all the time wears a robe and a Speedo. An open robe. So you can see his torso and his legs and everything.
Gross.
It's weird.
Is there like a guy in Archer, same sort of thing? The guy that Archer and Lana sleep with?
Yeah.
I forget his name.
It's
Bogdan?
basically that.
Bogdan. He's got the grenades in it. You know what? Forget it.
So Masevich tells writer Kevin James that he needs him to kill El Toro.
Okay.
And writer Kevin James tries to tell him the truth. He's like, no, I'm not the ghost. I'm a writer. This is all fucked. I want to go home. And then Masevich addresses his butler of 40 years, who's known him since he was a child, who just informed Masevich that the shipment of Zima is going to be delayed. So Masevich shoots him in the head. In cold blood, poolside, and we just watch him bleed out. So Kevin James is like, oh, okay, shit, this is real. And we also see American CIA agents have been watching like everything so far through their hidden cameras and satellites and whatever. And they're making bets on how long writer Kevin James will last before he gets murdered by one of the parties.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
It's so much plot. It's too much plot.
Jesus Christ, I'm just trying to keep up.
So, writer Kevin James shows up at the U.S. Embassy to try to, like, because he gets away from Masevich. He's like, fine, okay, I'll kill El Toro. You're good. Great. I'm gonna go do that. Shows up at the embassy. He's hoping he can get home. He's intercepted by badass Latina, who tells him, you can't trust people at the embassy. They're in bed with Masevich. They're gonna kill you if you go in there. So they go back to her place, and they have a beer. And we start getting, like, their first, like, flirty stuff. So they're like, oh god, this is gonna be a fucking love interest. Ugh. So these CIA agents who've been watching everything show up at the Venezuelan president's house to inform him of what's going on. We find out the Venezuelan president is actually an American from San Diego who's just posing as Venezuelan, who I guess has been put into place in power by the CIA. I don't really know.
But, okay. Why, though? Where's it going?
Oh, we'll get there. So writer Kevin James and Latina Badass discuss things about the political environment and whose side she's on, and she's a former DEA agent who's gone rogue. I don't really know. But the one that you want shows up and pulls a gun on them. Badass Latina does some cool fight shit, and we get the line, which, like, Badass Latina, for the most part, is actually pretty cool. Like, she just handles herself, and she's a woman, doing every action movie thing that you wouldn't expect a woman to be able to do, but she's just handling it. So, that's kind of cool. But the writers felt the need to stroke themselves for their fucking feminism. So, we get the line where the one that you want says, I don't like to fight girls. And then she, like, punches him in the face and knocks him on his ass and says, I can see why. I know. It's just, You're like, hey, we just wanted to remind you in this middle of the movie that we are feminists, and we believe in strong female characters, and we want to tell you that.
Like, that was actually... whatever.
God damn it. So, the one that you want leaves with writer Kevin James, but writer Kevin James...
You're really going to do that the whole time,
Oh,
huh?
yeah. Oh, yeah.
Great.
The whole time.
Oh, boy.
Writer Kevin James gets himself kidnapped by the Venezuelan government and is now at the president's mansion. So the president, who's an American from San Diego... Yes. You got it?
God.
He tells writer Kevin James... the president's lead general tells writer Kevin James the president wants him to assassinate Masovich. We have ourselves a love triangle. And now we cut to one of the CIA agents reading Kevin James's book and is starting to wonder, holy shit, is Kevin James actually the ghost? And the other CIA agent's like, no, this is bullshit. So CIA agents go to Masovich and tell them that writer Kevin James has been in contact with the president to assassinate Masovich. Masovich is livid and kills another one of his butlers just to prove how badass he is. I know, just like all of a sudden it's like, oh, remember, this is a serious action movie. We're gonna kill someone in cold blood.
I get it. How far into the movie are we at this point? Like, about 6 minutes?
About halfway. About halfway through.
Oh, God.
Writer Kevin James shows up at Badass Latina's safe house. They kick back and have a couple of beers again. So, yeah, they're flirting a little, and they're bonding, and we're like, oh my god, he's gonna fuck her. He's gonna poke her with his fucking Kevy James pudgy mall blart cop dick.
Can I get that on a t-shirt? Kevy Jamie's Paul Blarty cop dick. Hey, it's me, Kevy James.
I'm tired. It's been a long day.
Yeah, it has.
I'm apparently also even more of a moron because the missus who's been overhearing all of this just came down and wrote a note for me in pencil that just says it's CIA because I've been saying CEA, I think. Because
I didn't even notice.
But last week I had the DEA.
That's right.
I feel like I should not be blamed.
That's incredible. Neither of us noticed.
It's the FB5, CI7, whatever. Government.
Oh, Wow. You're just so caught up in the plot, and I'm so caught up trying to keep track of the plot that we didn't notice it was even wrong.
I knew this review, I would just get so in the weeds and just be trying to explain it.
God.
Okay. All right. So Kevin James, Badass Latina are flirting, drinking a beer. The corrupt police show up, who are in bed with Masevich. And then we get the gag, which was okay. Latina Badass, like, Kevin James has cold feet, and he's like, I just want to go home. Latina Badass is like, oh, but we have to make a difference. And she says, I promise, I won't let anything happen to you. And he immediately gets shot in the shoulder by a sniper. So, there's that guy.
That's a bit I don't hate.
Yeah,
honestly.
And it's pretty funny, because, like, he got shot and is just, like, squealing in pain. It was like, I thought you said nothing was going to happen to me. So, no complaints. Not the best joke, but funny. Mm-hmm. So, hijinks ensue, where they are trying to escape. The corrupt cops burst in with shotguns, and the good guys sneak out a back room. But in the midst of things, writer Kevin James lays a trap involving leaving running water on the floor and a shorted-out lamp, which causes the cops to be electrocuted. It's one of those dumb things where, like, the cops, like, burst into the room and they realize they're standing in water, and they're looking like, what is this? And then the lead cop looks over and sees the lamp and is like, no! Just as they get electrocuted.
Wow.
So, very tropey, pretty dumb, annoying. Okay. Kevin James, Badass Latina, show up at El Toro's compound, pretending to still be on his side. Oh, did I fuck this up?
If you did, I don't blame you.
No, okay. I typed the wrong name, but I get it. So they bargain from help. They're like, okay, El Toro, we're going to assassinate the president, but we need your help to, like, get into the inauguration where we're going to kill him. And then it's like at night at El Toro's compound. Kevin James, Badass Latina are getting flirty at the gun range. And he's showing off, like, he can throw a gun up in the air and flip it and catch it and shoot and hit a target. And she's like, when would that ever be practical? And anyway, he gives her the line, I know why you're a one-woman operation. You're scared of getting hurt, aren't you? And then she starts crying and starts talking about, well, my last partner died in the field, and I watched it bleed out in my hands. And then she just keeps talking about all the partners she's had die. And it gets to be, like, comical. It was like, oh, my other 2 partners died, and then I had 3 more partners the year after, and they all died. And Kevin James is trying to console her. He's, like, touching her shoulder. He's like, it's okay. And then she says, it's almost like everyone who touches me dies. And he pulls his hand back. He's like, So, pretty dumb. Okay, it's like, okay. It's like, fine.
This is a lot like the action movie version of Kronk's New Groove.
It really is.
It's technically fine. It's just not great. Like, that's an okay gag. I wouldn't write it in a script, but I'm not a hack.
These people will go unnamed, but you and I both know people who really like action movies.
Yes.
They would really like this movie.
Yeah.
They would really like this movie.
Okay, yeah. Oh, boy.
And that's what, like, at Kronk's New Groove is for children. Mm-hmm. True Memoirs of an International Assassin is for these people.
Got it.
We can, like, watch it and be like, oh, yeah, I get what they're going for. Fine. But, okay.
Mm-hmm. All right.
So, but then, so Latin Badass reveals she's just fucking with him. And it's just a joke, and she hasn't had multiple partners die. So it's even more flirty because of that and whatever. So they're gonna bone. They're going to Bone Town. Ugh.
Oh, nice.
We don't get it officially, but they keep hitting at it. Mm-hmm. They're gonna bone. So we cut to Kevin James dressing up in a tuxedo and getting in a fancy car with Latina Badass, who's in a sexy dress. Mm-hmm. And they're heading to the inauguration of the Venezuelan president, where they're playing all 3 sides against each other. And now we really get the weird Latin music. Because, like, as weird as, like, T-Swizzle in Spanish was, I won't call her by her name. She's T-Swizzle.
She grew up near where we grew up.
Yeah. She, our rival high school was the high school she went to for like 2 years before she moved to Tennessee.
I live like 3-minute drive away from the house she grew up in.
Did? The one, do you remember like the PC repair guy?
Yeah.
On Lancaster Ave?
Yeah.
He was her guitar instructor.
Oh, wow.
So I don't know if he still is in business, but like we had to take a computer to get fixed, and he had a gold record of hers in his shop, just hanging on the wall.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and it was pretty chill. But okay, so
good old T-Swiss. I had to give her a T-Swiss. I don't know what that is, but I'm gonna figure it out.
She is too attractive. It's disgusting. Okay, so the music we get. From here on to the end of the movie, starting at about the midpoint, just a shit ton of 80s popular rock songs, but Spanishized. So we get Hungry Like the Wolf, we get In the Air Tonight, I think there's a fucking Van Halen song in there, but there's like 6 of them.
Jeez.
And
you named 2 songs that I quite like.
Yeah, it's...
Now, you hate the 80s, to my knowledge.
It's strange. I despise the 80s. I looked up In the Air Tonight, because that's one of those songs, like, I know that song, but it's so 80s, I hate it.
It's a great song. What's wrong with you?
The 80s. The 80s bothers me.
I remember, don't worry. How could I ever forget? It's the first time, the last time. I'm sorry, continue.
So
we ever met. Alright, now I'm done.
Writer Kevin James shows up at the inauguration. Masevich is there, finally not in a Speedo and open robe. He's in a white tuxedo. He breaks like a champagne flute surreptitiously, and he's about to stab Kevin James in the neck, but Badass Latina intercepts him, and they start having a tango fight in the middle of the dance floor, where they're dancing, but also kind of fighting, and Masevich is trying to stab her with the champagne flute. It's fucking dumb action-y shit. So the CIA guys, who are also gay, they do have blowjobs with each other.
I can't see or hear your wife, but I am positive she's laughing at you in your house right now.
The problem is CIA guys is a tongue twister.
CIA guys. Okay, yeah,
it turns into CEA guys, doesn't it?
No,
it does.
That's just you.
No, you started. You sounded like CEA. You were drifting.
All right, everybody, rewind the tape and tell me.
You were drifting, Beard. Okay, so they're eating popcorn and watching everything go down on surveillance. So Masevich and Badass Latina like fight off the dance floor and then just fight like away from the party, like in the palace, whatever. They're busting through windows and kicking each other's ass and stuff. And we see that the one that you want has snuck into the inauguration as a server.
Which side is he on again?
He is El Toro's second-hand man.
Okay, El Toro. All right, so he wants to kill the president. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think.
Fucking God. All right.
He serves pigs in a blanket to the Venezuelan president and writer Kevin James.
I could murder some pigs in a blanket right
now. And Kevin James, as far as the one that you want is aware, is there to kill the president. So the one that you want is like looking at him like, you're gonna kill the president? Like, come on. And then the one that you want goes away, and writer Kevin James gets the president to admit that he wants Masevich dead. But then the president immediately spots that Kevin James is wearing a wire, which was set up by the CIA agents. I swear to God. So the president is surprisingly cool about this. He's just kind of dejected. He's like, oh yeah, of course, yeah, you're trying to do it. And he goes off on a rant about how much he hates his job, hates being the president of Venezuela, and how much he misses San Diego.
Oh, he's an American!
Yes.
Jesus Christ, I'd forgotten that part.
And this is a pretty good twist. Guess what happens next?
How the fucking Snoop Dogg shows up? I don't know.
This was a clever plot twist. I'll give them credit because it fucks everything.
Kevin James actually dies? I really don't know. I'm so lost.
Venezuelan president shoots himself in the head.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So...
All right.
Masevich and Badass Latina fight their way into the room somehow. Because, like, before you watch them, like, plunge out a window, like, 20 feet, and they were fighting in the garden. But somehow they fight their way back upstairs into the president's suite. Fuck, whatever. And so they just fight into the room right as the president's killing himself. And then the president's guards burst into the room, they see Masevich, and they shoot him on sight. So Masevich is dead now. And the president's dead. And writer Kevin James and Badass Latina are arrested for the assassination of the Venezuelan president. And we see a montage of their arrest to the Spanish version of In the Air Tonight, which is really awkward.
I want to listen to the Spanish version of In the Air Tonight.
It's pretty good. It made me go listen, like watch the music video. Have you ever seen the music video for Phil Collins' In the Air Tonight? It's weird.
I don't think I have.
It's real. It's a lot of close-up, shadowy versions of his face. Also, We're Not Gonna Take It by Twisted Sister? That's a music video and a half to watch. Holy shit. Huh. I went down a rabbit hole of 80s music videos.
Well, while we're on the topic, have you ever seen a music video to, Bonnie Tyler's Total Eclipse of the Heart?
I have not.
You should, because
no, I think I have. Is that like the fluttering curtains?
The choir
and like the
boys
weird
with the
dancers?
Yeah.
Yep. That's pretty great.
It's fantastic.
Okay, God. So, and the CIA agents have been watching the whole thing, but they didn't see that the Venezuelan president committed suicide. They just see Kevin James was in a room alone with him, and then he's shot in the head. So they're like, oh, holy shit, he's actually the ghost. Fuck's sake.
This is so complex.
I know, Larry.
Not in a good way. Just in
I know. It's too much plot.
Yeah.
Too much and not enough good action. Cause it's all stupid, tropey action, and not enough good jokes. So writer Kevin James and Badass Latina get out of the arrest wagon, and to their surprise, they're at El Toro's camp. El Toro congratulates them on a job well done, and the one that you want, sheepishly apologizes and acknowledges that writer Kevin James is in fact the ghost. El Toro pulls writer Kevin James aside into a little room and then pulls a gun on him and says, "Hey, I'm really sorry, but you know too much and you have to die." And there's a funny scene where he's like, "Oh, well, you've done so much for Venezuela. We'll be you'll live on in our memories, and we'll write songs about you." And Kevin James says, "But I will be dead." He's like, "No, you'll live on. No. I will be dead. I will not be here for that. Do not kill me." So I enjoyed that gag.
That's not bad.
Not the best, not the worst. So the CIA agents pull up just in the nick of time and tell El Toro that writer Kevin James is in fact not the ghost, but a fraud. And El Toro looks heartbroken. He's like, "We were going to write songs about you." Fucking stupid. And the CIA hauls him away. So now at the airport, where the CIA agents are trying to stuff him on an airplane back to the United States, Kevin James starts worrying about Badass Latina, who he's been eager to get his dick wet with. And he's like, "Oh shit, I was in danger with El Toro. She's probably in danger with El Toro." So, and he expresses these concerns, and the CIA agents are like, "Go fuck yourself. Get on the airplane, go home, you're out of your depth. This is not your problem anymore." And he beats them up in the airport and steals their guns and their car keys and their car and leaves them...
And they're the CIA and he's a fat writer.
Yes.
Okay, this is sensible.
Leaves them and they're watching him. They like run out into the parking lot and watch him speed away in their car. And they're like, "Maybe he is the ghost."
Oh my fucking god. bad I don't keep a pistol in this house.
So, oh god, okay, I think we're almost done.
Just want to point out that since we were talking about it, I've been playing in the background of my recording, not it on the stream, but the Spanish version of In the Air Tonight. It's amazing. So your entire last couple minutes has been undercut with Spanish In the Air Tonight, and for me, it's amazing.
It's better in Spanish than in English.
It's pretty great.
And, like, the songs aren't bad. Like, they sound good. They're very well done. It's just, like, it's weird. It's like, oh, he's in Venezuela. Let's Latin shit up a little bit. Like, like, come on, guys. This is weird.
Splash a little Latin in this.
Yeah. Okay, so El Toro and the one that you want have Badass Latina tied up, and El Toro tells her he plans to take over the drug trade now that Masevich is dead, and he needs her help with all her inside info from being in the DEA. She refuses, so El Toro tells the one that you want to shoot her. And he's all conflicted, because he was in the mind frame of like, oh, we're doing revolutionary work, we're going to throw over the corrupt Venezuelan president, and we're actually going to do something for the people, but El Toro just wants power, wants to be a drug kingpin. So, just in the nick of time, writer Kevin James sends a car careening through El Toro's camp. It just smashes through everything and like crashes into a tree bank. It distracts all the guards, they run up to the car, open the door, it's revealed that there's no one inside the car, but there's a bunch of C4, like, strapped to the passenger seat. And then we see Kevin James walking in through the main gate, which has been abandoned because all the guards went to check out the car. And it's like, it's the Joker thing from Dark Knight, where he's just mashing the button and it's not working. He's like, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit. And then it goes off and he blows up all the guards, whatever. So at the last second, he pops into where Badass Latina is being held, and he tells the one that you want, look, the one that you want, you gotta be your own man. You can't be beholden to El Toro. You gotta stand up for what's right. So, the one that you want turns the gun on El Toro and is like, no, man, I fight for justice. So they all fight stupid fight bullshit, gun stealing. The results of the match, Juan ends up stabbed in the guts, writer Kevin James gets a knife in the shoulder, and El Toro has the gun, scoops up Badass Latina, and escapes. So, while the one that you want is, like, bleeding on the floor, and, like, writer Kevin James pulls the knife out of his shoulder, which, medical advice corner, don't pull the knife out of anything. Call 911. I don't know, maybe if you're in a Venezuela, like,
drug mansion?
Guerrilla camp.
Oh,
like,
that's right. God, fucking... I had it straight, it's all gone.
I don't know, maybe it's a different situation there. But if you're in the States, call 911 if you have a knife in you. Do not pull it out.
You know what they call... This is the worst joke I ever made.
Oh, what is it, Larry?
Do you know what they call 911 in Venezuela?
What?
A Royale with cheese! And then just insert a gunshot sound here, and I'm just going to be quiet for the rest of it.
Oh, you got me with that one. I was expecting you to just, like, Nuevo Uno Uno.
I was thinking
I really thought you were going there. And I was like, okay, I get it. It's dumb, but I get it.
I was thinking about it, but... God. I'm sorry.
Oh, fuck's sake. Oh, man. Okay, writer Kevin James jumps into the helicopter that El Toro is trying to escape in with Badass Latina chick. And guess what scene's about to play out again?
Oh, fucking... Do they recycle footage?
No, it's not recycled footage. Because there's a $40 million budget. If they recycled footage, I would have smashed my computer and not recorded this podcast.
I was hoping to get to use my favorite line.
My only complaint.
It's recycled footage. Anyway, yeah, helicopter
Yeah, so the pilot gets shot in the head, helicopter gets out of control, writer Kevin James dangles out of the helicopter for a little while. Eventually he shoots El Toro, and it's a thing where the gun gets thrown up into the air and it's flipping over, he catches it and shoots him. So it's echoing back to where Latina Badass was like, that's never practical. Ugh. Okay. So El Toro gets shot, falls out. Oh, as he's falling out of the helicopter, recently being shot, to his death, his last words, "You are the ghost."
My head is in my hands.
It's pretty rough.
God. I just know where it's going, and it's not good. It doesn't make it clever. It's just gonna be the beach. Call me the ghost, or I start making out. Please subvert my expectations.
You might be in luck. Because we're down in the last, 2 minutes of the movie.
Oh, thank the fucking Lord.
Okay, so Otoro's dead, but the helicopter's out of control. The tail propeller got fucked up, so they can't fly it. They're going down. And writer Kevin James says, we have to jump. It's better to survive the jump than the crash. Whatever. So he times it just right, and they plunge through the trees, conveniently, into a pool of crystal clear water. Okay. Just happens to be there. So they climb out of the water onto the little beach of the river or whatever it is, soaking wet. And we sort of get a repeat, where she's like, she says, "You saved my life." And he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna use the line." And he says, "Shh, call me the ghost." And she just smacks him and is like, Don't ever shush me. I'm not gonna call you the ghost. Shut the fuck up. So, badass Latina being a badass Latina. But, and then they start walking away from the water in the middle of the jungle, because the helicopter ride took about 2 minutes. Mm-hmm. So, assuming they were going, I don't know how fast helicopters go, probably at least close to 100 miles an hour at full speed. Okay. They're a couple miles away from the secret guerrilla compound. They're in the middle of the goddamn Venezuelan jungle. But within 30 seconds, the Venezuelan president's lead general, pulls up in a jeep and pulls a gun on them and says, "Now my coup is complete. I just need to kill the last people who are in the way."
But I'm in the middle of the fuck... Okay, I don't just...
Yep.
Shut up.
Doesn't make sense. Don't make sense.
Shut up. Let it go.
But, bam, he got shot in the brain.
And it's the old guy from the...
And the sniper, who's wrapped in halfway a ghillie suit or whatever, walks out of the woods, and it's the old guy from the pool hall, who is actually the ghost.
Okay. Can I die now?
We get a 6 months later, and the one that you want, woo-hoo-hoo, is president of Venezuela.
Such a dork.
He gives a very inspiring speech about how he's going to do great things for the people and everything's going to be good again. And the CIA agents are in the crowd, and they're muttering to themselves I don't think we'll be able to control him very well. Fucking whatever. Great. Astute observation, fucking Kevin James. Kevin James has a new book out. And this time it's fiction, but now it's actually describing his whole story in Venezuela, and he's on air with Katie Couric, and she's like, this sounds a lot like everything that happened in Venezuela 6 months ago, but now he's cool as a cucumber, and he's like, no, Katie, it's 100% fiction. Roll credits.
But, I don't care. Okay, what the fuck?
I know.
What the fuck?
It was fun the first time through, and there was enough plot, it was engaging and not just boring.
I mean, it sounds like it's not... Again, it sounds like it's not terrible. It's just there. It just exists.
It's never enough of one thing. It's never enough of a comedy. It's never enough of an action movie. Mm-hmm. It's never enough of, a twisty McThriller thing. Mm-hmm. It's just a little bit of everything, and none of them are great. Mm-hmm. But, so yeah... If I had to give a rating, it'd be, I guess 5. It's fine. There was enough things that bothered me. I'd never want to watch it again. A lot of movies I know are bad, I enjoy and I'll keep watching. Like, I know Billy Madison, Happy Gilmore aren't good movies.
Yeah.
But I'll watch them over and over forever because I just love them.
Yeah.
This movie I would never want to watch again. Whereas some of the movies we've done before, I would love to watch again with people to hate. Like Leo the Lion, me and my wife subjected like 6 of our friends to probably about skipping through things about half an hour of that movie. And we were just tickled pink.
It's really something.
Because just how horrible it was.
Yeah,
but this movie I would never show to someone as like, oh my god, you have to watch this because it's terrible. Mm-hmm. It's just middling,
like,
bland.
Yeah, there's
kind
like
of
nothing to talk about. That's the biggest crime of all. It's not memorable in any way.
Yeah, at least with this, I had a mountain of plot to wade through.
Yeah, God, it's so dense. It's just, oh man, it's so bland.
Yeah,
it's a shame.
One thing, and I was worried the entire time that Kevin James was going to fuck Latina Badass, and they didn't. They didn't go down that route. They never get together.
Oh, that's good.
So I'll give them credit, despite their earlier, like, they play that line, like, I hate to fight women, I can see why, and they're stroking their own feminism bullshit. They actually don't have the tough Latina chick, like, just fall into Kevin James, like, flabby arms.
I was going to say flabby embrace.
So, they get credit for that.
Yeah.
Credit where it's due.
I mean, that's like the hard part about some of the. I had the same problem with Grand Mossy. Like, there wasn't really, and obviously Kronks didn't agree with. There's just like nothing to say. It's there. You explain it, and that's it. There's nothing to add or take away. Like, do you have a master's thesis? I would hope, but
I realized about halfway through recording that I forgot to write one.
That's, you know what though? That's kind of indicative of what it was. Cause the fuck is there to say?
Cause usually there's like some guy like Perfect Sisters is like, oh yeah, fucking stroking teenagers feeling like they're important, and I can run with that. But like this, like the entire time watching it, taking notes, like usually somewhere in the middle, it'll be like, oh right, that's the angle for the master's thesis. But that just never occurred to me. So we'll skip that this week.
Yeah, that's... Oh, man. I'm going to have to stay on Jupiter where I get more stupider this week. That's a shame. But, I mean, it's understandable. That's... Because, what the fuck? I mean, I just... God. Ugh, I feel like you just took a dump and it was, like, on my chest. And I'm just like, no, now there's dump on my chest. I didn't like this as much as I thought I would. I thought this was going to be great.
Well, I feel...
Dump.
Well, I don't know. But, like, imagine... I don't know. Imagine T-Swizzle taking a dump on your chest.
Yeah.
Like, you think, like, you'd be all into it? Like, oh shit, T-Swizzle taking a shit on my chest? That's gonna be fucking hot. That'll be awesome. But, like, I bet it would actually happen. Then you'd be like, okay, and now I have poop on my chest, and it's just poop. It's not like it's gold or anything.
Yeah.
And I got to look at T-Swizzle's little asshole pucker open and release stuff from it. So that's nice. But ultimately, I got poop on my chest.
I'm just waiting for your wife to enter frame. Angrily. Any second now. Yeah, no, yeah, that's about right. It's... So that's kind of weird. It's weird how well these two movies, these last 2 weeks, have just kind of paralleled.
It was bizarre. Mm-hmm. Very bizarre.
Well, that said... I don't think the next set is going to be so rosy.
No, we're going to have some bad movies.
Yeah.
So...
Actually, who's going to go first this time?
Well, I guess I'll tell you, because that'll be next episode.
Okay.
So, episode 17, coming out next Sunday.
Wow, we're getting through these.
Larry Beard, the man who makes my penis feel weird. You're going to be watching... Pup Star World Tour.
What? No. Is this a fucking kids movie?
Yeah, I won't keep doing kids movies. It's the last one for a while. But I found this one. This is from the Air Bud franchise.
Oh no! Oh my god!
Yes,
no.
this is the newest release. It's now called the Disney Buddies instead of the Air Buddies.
No, how is this real?
It's really bad.
How
like
is this real?
the first Air Bud came out in '97. I was young enough that I liked that movie. I enjoyed it. But the Air Buddies franchise is weird. There's been like a movie every year, and like Robert Vince is the same guy at the helm of it. And there's a company called Air Bud Productions. There's a company just to make Air Bud movies.
Who watches them?
But yeah,
We do.
this movie, the dogs, and recently the dogs talk. Not only do they talk, they sing.
Oh,
It's
God.
American Idol, the Air Bud World Tour version.
This came out in this year.
Yep, in May 2018. This is hot off the presses.
This is a steaming dump out of Taylor Swift's puckered asshole.
It is. It's a fresh T-swizzle turd.
Okay, and I'm looking at Netflix. First of all, talented pooches from around the world compete to be the next pup star, but behind the scenes schemes, are you fucking serious? Behind the scenes schemes, who the fuck wrote that? Threatened to ruin the fun. I'm looking at Netflix, and the more like this is 2 other pup star movies.
Oh yeah, this is the third pop star movie.
You know what?
And, I knew I was taking a risk by pulling this trigger, because now you can throw a pup star in my face, but I had to do it.
You know what, Isaac? I deserve this. Because if you recall, and I'm sure you do, a long time ago this is not related to your movie, a long time ago when we used to do this show for a different time in our lives, I made you watch a movie called Beverly Hills Chihuahua 3.
Yes, I was also thinking of that.
I made you watch the third in a series.
Oh, right, that is fitting.
I was wondering when it was going to happen to me.
I wonder if those are still on Netflix.
Oh, yes, they are.
Well, we'll see. But you've had 3 of your last 4 movies, including this one, will be kids' movies, so I got to get away from that.
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
Fucking Jesus. Who the fuck is Jed Rest? Star of Pup Star World Tour. That better be a fucking dog.
I watched the first 8 minutes of this one. I could not believe what I was seeing.
The text message you described it to me as, I've been telling everybody because it's wonderful, is a let me get the exact wording here. It's spellbindingly bad, like a pile of live babies on fire.
Right, if I saw a pile of live babies, I would just watch it instead of try to put it out.
You toasted marshmallows, or?
No, watching horror, I'd be horrified.
Okay.
But I wouldn't put it out.
You're my hero.
Well, because if they're in a pile and they're burning, you might as well just let them die, because they'll be disfigured and have third-degree burns.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to let things go and move on.
Yeah. Well.
So, what's coming down the pipeline for me, Larry?
Okay.
Because there's been some, and I gotta give a little backstory here, because late at night, a couple days ago, I got a call from Mr. Beard. I was just getting ready to go to bed. Got a call from him. Answer, and he says, "Put me on the phone with your wife." And of course, I'm like, "Okay, sure."
You hemmed and hawed, knowing that something bad was coming.
Yeah, I knew something was gonna be there. And knew it was relating to what my movie was gonna be. And I forget exactly what she said, but and it revealed enough that it was regarding a movie, but she was delighted and intrigued and horrified. I could tell from her expressions. And I've been stewing over that for the better part of a week, waiting to see what this is, and she of course won't tell me, even though I've threatened to take away her water bowl.
your house is a nightmare.
She made a very angry noise just now. I don't know if the mic picked it up. But...
I didn't hear it, but I could see her glaring.
Yeah.
So, Isaac, this is a fucking doozy for a lot of reasons. A lot of reasons. Now, this is kind of not, I'd say the most... with Kronk's New Groove and the Flintstones, I think they're actually like... I guess Cabin Fever are kind of like bigger movies. I guess International Memoirs, or True Memoirs maybe, are kind of more well-known. But we try to stick to, like, the lesser-known real bowels of Netflix, like shit 25 people have fucking watched. But this one is quite well-known. This is a big one. And I think there is a solid chance you have seen it. But if you haven't, oh my god, can I not wait to hear you talk about it. And,
shit.
This is also, I think, a little different than normal, because I have watched this movie in its entirety yesterday because I could not stop watching. Because I was so entranced at what the fuck is happening on my television screen.
What? What is this?
So, do you remember last week when I was talking about Kronk's New Groove? When I said that there was only 3 movies that John Goodman and Patrick Warburton have acted together in.
This is the third one?
One was The Emperor's New Groove. One was Kronk's New Groove. There is no third movie. This is out of that universe. But this is just... this is complete happenstance this happened this way.
Yeah.
The third movie they have acted in is an animated feature where one is a lawyer and the other is a tennis star. And they're not the stars, but they are major characters. Because that movie happens to star a little-known B actor named Jerry Seinfeld. And that movie is B-Movie.
No.
Have you ever seen B-Movie?
I have not.
Oh, thank God. I am so happy. This movie, Isaac... You've seen memes of it, I'm sure. It's popular on the internet. It is so fucking insane that I could not even contain myself. I could not stop watching it. I almost turned it on a second time because it's lunacy.
I'm okay, so I'm on Netflix. I'll read the description. Tired of being just one of the hive, a bee makes a bold move on behalf of his species and learns a shocking secret. And judging, because when you hover your cursor over the Netflix thing, it'll flash through like 3 or 4 pictures, stills from the movie. Does he fuck this woman? No.
I can't tell you anything.
Larry.
I can't tell you anything.
Larry, stop
this movie. Here's what's gonna happen.
Does he pollinate her vagina?
Here's what's gonna happen. You're going to get about 20 minutes in. You're going to be like, what the fuck am I watching? What is this? Then you get into about 35 minutes in. And you're going to be like, oh my God, Jesus Christ, they're going there. And then at maybe the hour mark, your jaw's going to hit the fucking floor. And you're going to be like, is this real life? Is this just fantasy? Where am I?
Caught in a landslide, escape from reality. Oh God.
It ramps up to such an extreme... that it's lunacy. And it's even more fitting because you and I both share a great love for Jerry Seinfeld.
The sitcom is incredible. He is a good comedian. Mm-hmm. That's why I've never seen this. Because it's like the only thing... comedian is getting in cars, getting coffee is pretty great. But since Seinfeld, this is like one of the few things he's done.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to see it because I was like, I like this man. I don't want to not like him.
Oh, dear me.
Oh, God.
You are gonna shit.
He fucks this woman, doesn't he? The bee fucks her.
The only thing... I'm gonna not stomp all over your review, but I need you to take note of how shitty Renee Zellweger's acting is.
I forgot she existed.
Yeah, so did I. I tried to forget. So yeah,
Bridget Jones, is that her thing, right?
I think so.
God damn it.
An expert.
Oh.
This is really, it's super well known. The internet loves to make fun of it. But
yeah.
I could not resist because I saw it on Netflix and I'm like, ooh, you know what? That's not really the direction I want to go, but it's got Jerry Seinfeld and Isaac loves him and I hear this movie's not good. And I couldn't stop. I couldn't turn it off. It's just too much. This is
gonna be interesting.
It's gonna be a fucking trip.
She's in this picture. She's given him the "Hey B, I want to fuck you" eye, which I've never seen anyone give that before. But you can tell
that face when you want to fuck a bee.
Oh, did you know beehives can be underground?
I did not.
They can apparently.
So
I was doing some
vagina over a beehive.
Well, no, I was doing some mulching at the in-laws' house.
Oh God.
And there was like, oh, there's a hole in the ground that bees are crawling out of. And I was like, well, that's nightmare fuel. So I go over to my father-in-law and say, hey, I don't really know much about bees, but there's some bees coming out of a hole in the ground. Is that a thing? And he's like, hey, yeah, beehives can be underground. Don't worry about it. It's pretty far from the house. It's cool. Just don't tell, like, your mother-in-law or your grandmother-in-law, because they'll be very afraid. But
I have a slightly related story then, but I'll get to that.
All I could think of was stuffing my dick in the dick-sized hole in the ground. And it was like standing on the edge of a cliff. No, it's the same thing as standing on the edge of the cliff and being like, I could just throw myself off. I could just throw myself off right now.
Oh, that's
it was
L'appel du Void. It's like the appeal of the void.
Exactly, yeah, call of the void, yeah.
That's it.
It was like, hey, there's this dick-sized hole in the ground that bees are crawling out of. I should put my dick in it. And I really had to stop myself.
That's not going to meet my wife. You really had to stop yourself. Really.
I had to spend some mental energy to be like, no, this is just like being on the edge of a cliff. Stop thinking about it. Go about your day, sir.
I mean, granted, I'll walk by the paper cutter, like the old-timey 1950s elementary school paper cutter at work, and every day think about putting my fingers in it. I don't think a hole with fucking bees coming out of it is ever going to entice me to put my dick in it.
I didn't think I'd enjoy it. But
were you going to fuck it, or were you just going to put your dick in it and, like, let it sit there like a
I don't know,
wet
because I'd have to get my dick hard to fill the hole. So when I'm flaccid, I'm a very tiny man.
Can we please get that on a t-shirt? With you on a chair looking contemplative. Well, I'd have to get my dick hard to fit in the hole. ... Oh, man.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Yeah, our merchandise is going to be pretty rough.
Oh,
if we ever get to that point.
So arrested.
Oh, Jesus. Well, the next couple episodes are going to be interesting.
Yeah, I think
for sure. So. Oh, lordy lord.
The Air Bud franchise is so big. Why is it so big?
There's been like a movie every year for 20 years.
Was Air Bud that successful?
Air Bud... Okay, so there was Air Bud, which was released in theaters, fairly successful. I forget how much it made.
I remember that as a kid when it came out.
There was one other one that was released in theaters, Air Bud Golden Receiver. Get it? And since then, it's been direct-to-video. And I watched part of Air Bud 7th Inning Fetch.
Gonna kill you.
Which is pretty bad. There's so many good, and there's the Air Buddies movies where it's the puppies of Air Bud, but there's Space Buddies where they go into space.
Now, like you and I have discussed Space Buddies in the past. Did I make you watch that? Did you watch Space Buddies?
No.
Fuck, who do I know? Someone I know has seen Space Buddies. Did I watch Space Buddies? I'm about to have some fucking repressed memory shit. Yeah, I know the franchise has been continuing, but I did not realize how prolific. So, how many Air Buds have there been? I'm not talking movies, because it's the same fucking Air Bud. I'm talking, how many dog actors have died in the service of Air Bud?
It's a long story. And I was going through Wikipedia, but shockingly, like, there's a Wikipedia page for, like, the Air Buddies franchise, but there's not a lot of sub-Wikipedia articles to really get into things.
Shocker.
Yeah. But
really blowing my dick off here.
One of the weird things... Okay, so the original Air Bud movie was written in, like, 91 by some Italian guy, like... Spaghetti de Coco or whatever.
I was gonna say Bernardi Airbud, but Spaghetti de Coco is amazing.
So he writes this. He writes this script of this fucking basketball playing dog or whatever, and shops it around for 6 years. And surprise, no one wants to fucking buy it because it's stupid. But
so wait, I need a clarification. The first Airbud, I haven't seen it since I was like 6. The first Airbud is basketball.
Plays basketball. Came out in 97. So, and Spaghetti de Coco has had the dog named Buddy the whole time. So when they actually filmed the movie, and this is where the Wikipedia article, and I gotta remember because I don't have it pulled up, but like, so Spaghetti de Coco and Robert Vince, I don't know, some guy, the guy who's like in charge of the franchise now, they made the first movie together. And then they had a falling out. But the Wikipedia article reads something like, Spaghetti de Coco and Robert Vince, after the first movie, had a falling out. Meanwhile, Bud had a leg amputated. Right. And then they just go on. They just move on to the next movie. So it's like Robert Vince just went on to make Air Bud Golden Receiver without Spaghetti de Coco and with another fucking dog, because they're interchangeable.
I'm gonna die. So does Spaghetti. I can't even breathe. Spaghetti. The Italian guy has this 3-legged dog.
Yeah, but the 3-legged dog. Right, so Robert Vince goes off and starts making more Air Bud movies without Spaghetti de Coco and his 3-legged dog. So Spaghetti de Coco writes a treatment for another Air Bud movie, which is supposed to be a cross between Homeward Bound and Ferris Bueller's Day Off, starring Buddy, the 3-legged golden retriever. And shockingly, it never gets made.
Oh my god, I'm gonna die for real. I'm gonna die for real.
So, Robert Vince, or whatever his name is, has gone on to helm Air Bud Productions for the last 2 decades. Which is the second most successful direct-to-video franchise in history. There's apparently like a Disney Fairies or something, which I've never heard of, that's more successful. But Air Buds is big money. Big Money Rustlers, Larry. They're making paper.
Oh, Big Money Rustlers, please come back to Netflix. I want to watch you again so badly. Oh, I never told that story. Well, let's do it at the end of the episode. I'll save it for next time. Juggalo story coming next time.
You can just keep teasing it. That'll be our final episode. When one of us gets cancer, that'll be like... We're finally telling the Juggalo story now that it's metastasized.
It's such a lame story. There's no substance.
We did drink a lot of Faygo.
You say a lot. I drank a lot of Faygo. Yeah, I did. Fucking Spaghetti de Coco. This 3-legged dog, Air Bud.
That's a movie we need to write.
That's a documentary we need to make. Look, there's a documentary on Netflix about a kid drawing dicks on cars. We can make a fucking documentary about spaghetti. That has to be it. Movie. We pretend that's his name, and then we get to his house and just refer to him as that.
And he'd be really upset. He'd be like, "That's not my name." And be like, "Well, do you want a documentary about you or not? Because that's the deal, Spaghetti."
Can I meet the Air Bud?
He's just stuffed in the room.
Look at the door. My bedroom door. My dog is certainly waiting for me. So Air Bud plays so many sports then.
Oh yeah. Well, no, that's the other thing. So Spaghetti de Coco had 3 puppies from the original Buddy, who was in Air Bud 1.
Or did Buddy have like a wife?
I don't know. But he trained the puppies in sports, and in preparation of putting them in more Air Bud movies. But then he was locked out of the franchise because of the politics of it. So then he just made commercials with them for like Colgate or whatever. It's like, hey, look at this dog bowling. You should brush your fucking teeth. Spaghetti de Coco.
We need to do a special episode, like 30 minutes about Spaghetti de Coco. Please. I never wanted anything more in my entire life.
This guy wheeling and dealing with his fucking golden retrievers that can like bounce around a football.
His whole life is just sorrow.
Yeah, he got boxed out of like $100 million worth of Air Bud franchise.
Robert Vince is just in a mansion made of dogs. Oh, and they're all Disney.
Yeah.
You know, Isaac, Air Bud could be the next Avenger.
That's a crossover that needs to happen. Oh my god.
Tony Stark makes Buddy a foot leg. Alright, I gotta end this episode. I'm gonna die. I need to go die in a corner for real.
Oh yeah, on that note, Air Bud being the final savior for the next fucking Marvel movie. That was the Bowels of Netflix. We hope you enjoyed yourself. We don't know what you listen to. We don't know anything. But you can tweet us, you can Facebook us. Those are both at Bowels of Netflix. Send us an email at bowelsofnetflix@gmail.com. If you want to get in on the ground floor of crowdfunding the Spaghetti de Coco documentary. Shout out to Kevin MacLeod, whose music we use for our episodes. He's at incompetech.com. Full links are in the description of this episode. And make sure to rate, subscribe, tell your friends all about Spaghetti de Coco. Because we're a small-time gig. We want to keep doing it, so the more listeners we get, the more we'll be emboldened to keep pushing along, even though we're just plunging into chaos every day.
I'm laughing. That's the funniest thing.
But that's it for this week. Make sure to stay tuned. Next Sunday, we'll be talking about Pop Star World Tour, an Air Bud franchise. It's gonna go off the rails because we got B movie coming up the week after that.
It's
oh, good
already
lord!
off the rails. We haven't even started it yet. It's just gonna get worse.
Thank you for listening. Have a great night. We love you.